Hey guys, welcome back to your Daily Dose. Today we're talking about All American, Season 3, Episode 8. So we're starting off with Spencer waking up in bed and basically flashing back to the conversation he had with Layla. The conversation where he basically tells her everything that happens in Vegas, and Layla is understandably pissed. She basically reams into him and tells him that he's trifling because in one breath you're telling my best friend that you love her, and then in the next breath you're hooking up with me. She breaks up with him in that conversation, and that's that. So he's out of bed and he's moping around and he sees his brother, and he basically says, yo, let's hang out before school. So he takes his brother to the park so they could throw around the football, and these two guys come up and they know Spencer, but Spencer doesn't know them. They start talking mad trash and challenge Spencer to a pickup game, which he, of course, being the prideful man that he is, accepts their challenge. I mean, he can't let anybody punk him in front of his brother, right? So in the beginning, Spencer was handling it, but once the guy got his groove back, he crushed him, and Spencer was visibly annoyed. After the game, Spencer realizes that one of the guys was holding out a sweatshirt as if he goes to the same school as Spencer, so he was a little confused by that. In the next scene, we see Coop walk in the halls with Kia, and they hear the announcement that for homecoming court, both Kia and Coop were nominated, as well as Spencer and some other person we never heard of before. So during that announcement, everyone's in the hallway celebrating and clapping, and then Coop turns around and sees Spencer, and they locked eyes for a moment, and then Coop just walks away. From there, we get Spencer visiting Coach Baker, and they're talking about how they need more people for their football team. Then Spencer mentions that he might have found someone who would be a really great fit for defense on their team, and he's referring to the guy that beat him at the park earlier that day. The guy's name was Jabari, and the coach looked him up in the system, which I found really weird. Why are you just looking up another student's GPA and grades in front of another student? But okay, whatever. They saw that Jabari had a low GPA, but that was most likely due to the fact that his previous semester looked incomplete. So they determined that he's unable to play. Next, we have Coop and Layla hanging out, and they're essentially just talking about how they both broke up with Spencer and they need to get over it. Then Kia walks up and Layla leaves, and Coop explains the whole background of what happened between Coop and Spencer over the last few days. In the next scene, we see Coach Baker talking to Principal Carter. So I don't know if you all remember, Carter and Baker have a serious history from when they were in high school. Carter hates Baker, claims that Billy bullied him, but doesn't really get into much detail. So needless to say, Carter has been giving Baker a really hard time as coach of this football team. So one of the first things Carter did when he became principal was cut funding to the football team and raise the GPA requirement, which made a lot of students ineligible to play and really affected the ability of the football team to win games. So right now they're winning, but it feels like they're barely winning. So in this conversation, Coach Baker is asking Carter to lower the GPA requirement to where it was before, and Carter refuses, saying that he doesn't want to give the football players preferential treatment and that he wants to show the other students in the school that he supports them as well. Coach Baker pleads with him, saying that, I'm basically doing this for free because the salary that you're paying me, I'm using to cover the expenses for the football team. Everything you've thrown at me, I've handled it, but right now it feels like you're using your personal issues against me to punish the students. And Principal Carter is saying, nope, that's not the case. I hate you, but I'm doing what's right. These boys should be looking to do other things with their lives outside of football. So from there, we have Olivia having a bad day and her mom giving her permission to have a mental health day and giving Jordan permission to spend that day with her and help her feel better. Then we have Vanessa and Asher in the hallway talking. Vanessa brings him I'm not sure what it was, some sort of pastry that was reminiscent of what they used to eat over the summer when they were in Mexico. And Asher thinks that that's Vanessa basically reaching out to him and saying that we should give this a shot. Then we see Kia talking to Spencer in the hallway while they watch a school security officer basically bust into Jabari's locker and search it in a really rude way. You know, she's looking at things and throwing them out and then walks away and leaves him to pick all the stuff up. And Kia reveals to him that Jabari got caught up in the wrong crowd last year. He was caught as the lookout during like a bling ring sting. So he was sentenced to 8 months, I believe, and got out in 3 months for good behavior. So Spencer takes all that to heart and reaches out to Jabari and says, hey, you know, I really want you to be a part of the team. I talked to the coach. We saw that because of your GPA, you were ineligible to play. So I'm starting a tutoring group, and, you know, I would love for you to join so that we can raise your grades and get you on the team. So Jabari looks at him like he's crazy, which he is, because you are coming to me and telling me how you're going to help me about things that are none of your business. So Jabari says he needs to mind his business. The only reason his GPA is low is because the principal is not really putting much energy into transferring his credits from juvie. So he walks away, and Spencer now has egg on his face. So Spencer's mom won some sort of contract to design the garden for the high school. So she's in the hallway talking to Principal Carter when Spencer walks up and accosts him regarding Jabari and transferring his credits. And so the principal responded to him and said that he's not discussing students' grades with Spencer. And so Spencer basically says that he's treating him a certain way because he was in juvie. And the principal said, well, you know what? He made his bed. Now he gets to lay in it. And so Spencer says something smart, and his mom checks him. Spencer apologizes and walks away. So then Principal Carter makes a comment to Spencer's mother along the lines of kids nowadays. She then checks him and says, although she doesn't agree with how her son said it, she agrees with what he said. You're not being fair to this Jabari kid, and you're supposed to be giving opportunities to all students here, no matter what their situations are. So then she walks away and leaves him with egg on his face. So then we get Jordan and Olivia at karaoke having a really good time, but then they get talking. Olivia insists that everything's okay, and Jordan presses her, and then she admits that, yeah, her life is awkward right now. Every time she runs into Asher, it's weird. Her relationship with Layla is strained, and she is avoiding Spencer like the plague. So Jordan says that she needs to man up and do what's needed to be happy. She admits that the relationship with Asher was ultimately never going to work out. She's just not comfortable with the way that it ended. But it ended because it was inevitable. So there's not really a problem there. You guys just need to learn how to be around each other. Then they talk about Layla and how she just needs to go talk to her and mend fences, and then go talk to Spencer because that's where her heart is. So she is soaking all of that in. And the next scene, we see Coop talking with Preach, and he tells her that he went to Philly to do some research on Mo to see what she was up to, and turns out she's legit. She's actually really into social justice, so everything she claims to be doing for the neighborhood is actually real. Coop has a ho-hum reaction to it, and Preach checks her on it. She mentions that she's having some issues with Spencer, and Preach says to her, listen, you do what's best for you, and don't let anyone or anything that's going on between you and anyone hold you back. Put yourself first. And although I think Coop ultimately takes this advice a little far left, I really appreciate the whole Coop Preach relationship. He really is stepping in as a big brother to her, and I like to see it. In the next scene, Layla and Spencer run into each other, and she is just not trying to hear anything he has to say. He is apologetic and explains to her that he strung her along because he didn't want to hurt her feelings. And she cusses him off to say, I'm even more pissed now because you thought so little of me. I've gone through all of these things, but it made me stronger. You're treating me like I'm weak and using it as an excuse to do this horrible thing to me under the guise of trying to protect me. You're actually hurting me more. So she doubles down on the screw you and walks off. Next, we see Coop attempting to actually break up with Spencer by bringing over a box of his things, and his mom says, don't involve me in this. If you want to leave and actually break up with my son and the friendship, you hand him those things yourself. Don't leave me to do it. That's the punk way to do it. So Coop leaves with the box. Then we see Asher at football practice, and he accidentally lets it slip that he and Vanessa may have something going on to her mother, who is the football coach. A little bit further along in the episode, we get Olivia and Layla at the hangout spot. They finally get to meet. Layla tries to kind of brush off the conversation, saying that she really doesn't have it in her to talk to Olivia right now, but Olivia insists on getting it out. So Layla bashes Olivia for constantly going after her exes and not being loyal, right? So if we remember when we first started this show, Layla and Asher were together. They broke up, and then Asher and Olivia got together. Now you have Spencer and Layla breaking up and Spencer and Olivia getting together. So that is not necessarily a great track record for a friend to have. So then Olivia accuses Layla of being selfish and not being there for her friends and what they need. Gave a few examples that I can't recall right now. And this whole thing is happening a little loud at the restaurant. Everyone is actually looking at them. Layla basically says, screw you too, and walks out. So in the next scene, you see Coop and Spencer recording their videos for Homecoming King and Queen. Spencer goes first and talks about how it's not just about him being the sole resource for the school. Everybody has a superpower that they contribute, and they lean on each other to make their environment a better place. In that little mini speech, he reaches out to Coop just a teeny bit with an olive branch, but the look on her face doesn't, to me, say that she's accepted it. So after he's done with his speech, he goes over to talk to Coach Baker, who tells him that he's found some teachers who are interested in helping Spencer to tutor some of the other students to get their GPAs up so they could be a part of the football team. At that point, Jabari walks up and thanks them for getting his grades transferred from juvie. Both of them said that they had nothing to do with it, but in any case, Jabari says he appreciates whoever did do it, and says that his GPA is up and he can be a part of the football team, and also asks to be a part of Spencer's training program, but not as a person being tutored, but as a tutorer, because apparently he's a science whiz. So the coach walks off with Jabari, and Spencer stays to watch Coop's speech. But before we get to that, we cut to Asher, JJ, and Jordan playing pool, and then Vanessa walks in and asks to speak to Asher. And when they're talking, she's essentially going in on him, asking why he would tell her mother that they're dating. She only brought him that treat because she wanted to actually be friends with him and get back to where they were over the summer. And she reveals that she actually is kind of interested in JJ. So Asher apologizes and they move forward from there. We cut back to the school. We see Coop on stage doing her speech, where she essentially is saying that she's digesting what Preach told her. So she's saying that she's going to put herself first and get rid of all distractions. So not only is she dropping out of the homecoming queen race, she is also dropping out of school, and walks off. And Spencer looks like he wants to reach out, but then he's like, nope, I have to leave this alone. We're not friends no more, and I gotta let her fight this battle on her own. And in the next scene, we see Jordan run into Layla. Layla basically says that she doesn't want to talk to him about the situation. She doesn't want to put him in the middle of the fight between her and Olivia. So Jordan says, listen, I'm not trying to get in the middle of that, but I am your friend too, and you're one of the strongest people I know. So Layla hugs him and really appreciates that, because part of her contention with both Spencer and Olivia is that everything they did was because they thought she was weak. And I think that's what really hurt her, the fact that they thought so little of her, that they did all this as if she was going to have another mental break, when she really worked hard to get herself in the headspace that she's in now. So in the last scene, you see Coach Baker talking to Principal Carter once more and thanking him for accepting Jabari's credit. Principal Carter admits that it was Spencer and his mother that got him to really open his eyes and realize that he was actually neglecting some of the students by judging them prematurely. So from there, they get into a conversation about what happened between them in high school. And Principal Carter admits that yes, he's still holding on to whatever it is that happened because it really hurt him deep down. The bullying was not your average bullying. They actually did the most. So Baker is like, whatever I did, I do apologize. I didn't realize it was going to hurt you so much, but you need to get over it. We grown now. So Carter says, no, I'm not going to get over it. I mean, you guys beat me up, split open my head, I got stitches, my parents got scared, pulled me out of school and sent me to boarding school, and so I was separated from my family for a long time when I didn't want to be, and I'm blaming this all on you. Baker seemed completely shocked about these accusations. He didn't recall them at all and denied them, which just pissed Carter off more. He's basically feeling like, you hurt me so much, you've impacted my life significantly for the worse, and you don't remember doing it, or you're denying doing it. That's not cool. So they walk away from each other. Billy's like worried, like I don't know what this man is talking about, and Carter is just pissed. So from there, we finally get the conversation between Olivia and Spencer that we've been waiting for. They essentially agree to make things work and just make the world adjust, which they should have done from the beginning. But in any case, Olivia is giving Spencer a ride home, and something happens to her behind the wheel, and she ends up crashing her car. And as the police are approaching, she asks Spencer to switch seats with her because she wouldn't pass a sobriety test. And I'm like, no, just as you were getting everything together, they fall apart, guys. I don't know. So this was All American Season 3, Episode 8. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys later. Peace.